They sharpened their knives in silence, smirking behind locked doors, delighting in the thought of your fall. Oh, how they reveled in it, plotting, weaving, conspiring, building a grave with your name etched before you even touched the dirt. They whispered poison into ears, planted seeds of doubt, turned your world into a stage where you were cast as the fool, the failure, the forgotten. And when the moment came, when they sank their blades into your back, they stood over you, basking in their victory, convinced that this was the end. But they never understood creatures like you. They never learned that some people don't break. They shatter, and in the ruins, they find something else, something darker, something unrelenting. Your demise was supposed to be their masterpiece, the crown jewel of their deception. They imagined you would crumble, rot, fade into nothingness, just another casualty of their greed, another pawn sacrificed for their amusement. But oh, how the story changed, because you didn't disappear. No, you transformed. You became the whisper in the hallways, the flicker in the shadows, the breath against their necks when no one was there. They wanted to erase you, but instead, they carved your legend into the marrow of their bones. Now, every step they take feels uncertain. Every locked door feels useless. Every mirror holds the reflection of their own undoing. You walk unseen, unheard, yet felt in every room they enter. The ones who laughed the loudest now sleep the least, haunted by the weight of something they can't explain, something that coils around their throats like a silent noose. They search for comfort, but comfort is a luxury they forfeited when they played God with your life. They see shadows where there are none, flinch at the sound of their own breathing, drown in the paranoia that you planted with nothing but patience and a smile. Oh, how beautiful it is, watching them stumble, watching the cracks form, watching the mighty turn to dust without ever needing to touch them. But patience is merely the prelude to something far more exquisite. You know better than to rush. No, revenge is not a dagger plunged in haste. It is a slow, deliberate tightening of the noose, a symphony of suffering played note by note until the final crescendo leaves them gasping. And you are the composer now, the architect of their undoing, the force they can neither see nor stop. Their little schemes, their petty tricks, nothing compared to what's coming. Because this isn't just payback. This isn't just retribution. This is a lesson, a revelation, a reminder that monsters like them, they don't get to walk away unscathed. Not this time, not ever. They thought they built a world where you had no place, where your name would be erased, your voice silenced, your existence reduced to a cautionary tale. They thought they had won, but in their arrogance, they made one fatal mistake. They let you live. And a person who survives the fire does not come back the same. No, you came back different, colder, sharper, hungrier. Not for their approval, not for redemption, not for understanding. No, you came back for something much simpler. You came back to watch them fall. Every whisper, every laugh, every condescending look they ever threw your way is now a thread in the web you weave around them. You are not in a hurry. Oh no, true vengeance does not come with haste. It seeps, it infects, it consumes. You let them bask in their false sense of security. Let them believe they still hold the cards. Let them sit upon their thrones of arrogance, oblivious to the decay setting in beneath them. Because when their walls crumble, when their names are dragged through the dirt, when they are left gasping for mercy in a world that has suddenly turned its back on them, they will understand. They will finally understand what it means to be powerless. And you'll be there. Oh yes, you will be there. Not to strike them down, not to grant them the sweet release of an ending. No, that would be too kind. Instead, you will watch. You will stand in the wreckage of their kingdom, smile as the echoes of their past sins devour them whole, and whisper the only truth that has ever mattered. You were never their prey. You were always the storm. But the storm does not rage without a purpose. No, no, no. This is not chaos. This is calculation. Every move, every step, every silent hour spent watching their empires crack has led to this. You do not merely destroy, you dismantle. You unravel their very existence, thread by thread, until all that remains is a shell of who they once pretended to be. Their power, hollow. Their wealth, meaningless. Their influence, a joke. Because once the world sees them for what they are, weak, desperate, trembling in the wake of the very destruction they once orchestrated, then, and only then, will they truly understand what it means to be ruined. You are no longer just a shadow in their nightmares. No, you are the force that makes them afraid of the dark, the thing that turns their laughter into screams. They thought they were the hunters, the masterminds, the gods of this world. But gods do not bleed. Gods do not beg. And yet, here they are, stumbling, choking, clawing at the very fabric of reality, praying for salvation that will never come. They built their kingdom on the bones of the innocent, believing they were untouchable. But even the untouchable can fall. Even kings can be dethroned. Even the mighty can drown in the very blood they spilled. And oh, how poetic it will be when they finally realize it was never about vengeance. It was always about justice. They stagger through the wreckage of their own design, their hands trembling, their breaths shallow, their once proud voices reduced to desperate murmurs. The architects of your downfall now stand on unsteady ground, their world cracking beneath their feet, and yet they still don't fully understand. Not yet. No, the mind takes time to unravel, to comprehend the depth of a reckoning it never believed possible. The fear is growing, clawing its way into their bones, but true terror, true, unrelenting horror, that is something you will make them taste, sip by sip, until it drowns them whole. They lie to themselves. They tell each other that this is coincidence, that their misfortune is mere bad luck, that the walls closing in are nothing but shadows of their own guilt. Oh, how the mighty love their delusions, how they wrap themselves in the comfort of denial, believing that if they just close their eyes long enough, the nightmare will pass. But you are not a fleeting terror. You are not a dream that fades with the morning light. You are the weight pressing against their lungs, the whisper that slithers into their ears, the force that turns every locked door into an illusion. And soon, oh so soon, they will realize that there is no waking from this. They robbed you of your peace. They stripped you of everything, turned you into a casualty for their own amusement, convinced that their cruelty would be forgotten with time. But wounds do not vanish in silence. No, they fester. They grow teeth. And yours? Yours have grown into something far beyond pain. They have become purpose, a reason to keep breathing, keep watching, keep waiting. They think they still hold control, that the strings are still in their hands, but oh, how wrong they are. They are no longer the puppeteers. They are the marionettes now, dancing to a melody they cannot hear, strings tightening with every move they make. Every turn they take leads them nowhere. Every attempt to reclaim their dominion is met with a force they cannot name. They hear footsteps where none should be. Their phones ring with no one on the other end. Their reflections in the mirror seem off, as if something lurks beneath the surface, watching, waiting. They are unraveling, and it is exquisite, because this is not revenge. Revenge is too crude, too simple. No, this is poetry. This is an unraveling of souls, a rewriting of fates, a slow, merciless retribution that does not grant them the mercy of a swift demise. They look at each other now, suspicion dripping from their eyes. Allies have become adversaries. Trust has turned to poison. They grasp at whatever remnants of power they can find, but even that slips through their fingers like sand in a storm. They built their empire on deception, and now deception has become their undoing. You need not even lift a blade to watch them bleed. They are cutting themselves apart, tearing at their own throats in desperation, searching for a way out. But there is none. There never was. You do not laugh. No, laughter is for those who find humor in suffering. This is not humor. This is justice carved into flesh and bone, written in the tremors of their hands and the sweat dripping down their spines. They wanted to bury you, to silence you, to reduce you to nothing more than a memory whispered in forgotten corridors. But they failed. And now, you stand at the edge of their world, watching it collapse into the abyss, brick by brick, soul by soul. There is no turning back for them. There never was. But the unraveling is only beginning. Their hearts beat like war drums against their ribs, hammering with the weight of the unknown. The air is thick with their dread, suffocating, relentless. Each second stretches into eternity, a moment of suffering carved into their very essence. And you savor it. Every flinch, every swallowed gasp, every bead of sweat trailing down their necks is a note in the grand symphony you conduct. They reach for salvation in trembling hands, calling upon whatever gods still listen. But prayers fall upon deaf ears. No divine mercy will save them now. They had their chance to beg for forgiveness, to seek absolution, to right their wrongs. But they squandered it. And now, they are left with nothing but the ghosts of their own sins, whispering lullabies of torment in the dead of night. Oh, how the tables have turned. The ones who once held the dagger now feel its edge pressing against their own throats, unseen yet ever present. There is no grand confrontation, no battle of fists and fury. No, that would be too easy, too merciful. This question mark, this is slow decay. This is the mind unraveling before the body ever follows. This is power, true, boundless, merciless power. And they are learning, far too late, that some fates are worse than death. You are not their nightmare. Nightmares end. You are not their ghost. Ghosts fade. No, you are something far worse. You are the consequence they never saw coming. They are no longer men. They are remnants of what once stood tall, reduced to shadows trembling beneath the weight of an unseen force. Their minds fracture in ways they cannot explain. Their chests tighten with the kind of fear that cannot be reasoned with. They clutch their heads, gasping for air, drowning in their own paranoia, yet they do not even know what they are running from. That is the beauty of it. The unknown is far more terrifying than any blade, any bullet, any wound that bleeds in the open. You have given them something no enemy ever could: doubt. Doubt in themselves, in each other, in reality itself. They used to move with certainty, with arrogance stitched into their every step. Now they second-guess every decision, hesitate before every word, flinch at every shadow. They whisper to themselves in the dead of night, trying to convince their shattered minds that this is all a coincidence, a cruel twist of fate, rather than the careful orchestration of a force they underestimated. Oh, how they underestimated you. How they thought you could be broken, discarded, forgotten. But you have never been a forgotten thing. You have always been the storm waiting on the horizon, the reckoning they never saw coming. Every time they close their eyes, they see something just beyond the veil, something watching, something waiting. They wake up in cold sweats, hearts hammering, unable to recall what chased them through their dreams, but certain, oh so certain, that it was you. They look over their shoulders, hands trembling, because they know now. They know they are not alone. They know that their sins have called something forth, something that does not forgive, something that does not forget. They seek to reclaim control, to wrestle back their grip on a world slipping through their fingers like sand in a windstorm. But every move they make only tightens the grip around their throats. They reach out to allies, only to find cold backs turned toward them. They try to muster the same cruelty that once came so effortlessly, but it rings hollow now, empty, a weak echo of the monsters they used to be. Because fear changes a man. Fear turns the hunter into the hunted, the executioner into the condemned. And fear, true, unrelenting, suffocating fear, is a poison that does not kill quickly. No, it lingers, it festers, it rots them from the inside out until nothing remains but a husk of what once was. They are unraveling. Their minds are slipping through their own fingers, their bodies running on nothing but desperation. They see you in places you do not stand, hear your voice in the silence where no one speaks. The world has become unfamiliar, foreign, a labyrinth of torment they cannot escape. And that is what you wanted. This is not about striking them down in an instant. No, that would be too kind. This is about making them live in the space between their past and their impending ruin. This is about stretching their agony across every waking moment until it becomes the only thing they know. Once, they were untouchable. They spoke with venom, played their games with glee, wielded power like a weapon meant to cut down anything that dared to rise against them. But now, their voices crack when they speak. Their hands tremble when they reach for their once prized thrones. Power is a fickle thing. It does not belong to those who simply take it. It belongs to those who can hold it steady when the tides shift, when the storm comes, when the ground beneath them splits apart. And they were never meant to hold it for long. Now, they search for salvation in places where none exists. They offer apologies to ears that do not listen, throw money at problems that cannot be bought, burn bridges they had no right to build in the first place. But there is no salvation. There is no way out. They were the ones who built this ending, brick by brick, lie by lie, betrayal by betrayal. And you have simply ensured that they reap what they have sown. It is a slow destruction, not the chaos of battle, but the quiet collapse of an empire built on rot. And you watch it all unfold, not with rage, not with glee, but with the cold satisfaction of inevitability. They thought they could shape the world in their own twisted image, thought they could escape the weight of consequence. But no one escapes. No one outruns what waits in the dark. And they, most of all, should have known that. You do not need to lift a finger. You do not need to strike a final blow. The end is already written in the fear on their faces, the emptiness in their eyes, the knowledge settling deep in their bones that the worst is yet to come. Because this is not the conclusion. This is only the beginning. There is no escaping the reckoning. No more corridors to run through. No more hands to reach for in the dark. The walls have closed in, the air has thickened, and the weight of their own misdeeds has chained them to the ruin they swore would never come. Once, they commanded fear. Once, they pulled strings with the ease of a puppeteer, watching the world dance to their every whim. But power is a cruel illusion, and now, standing at the edge of their own undoing, they finally understand the truth. They were never gods. They were never untouchable. They were only men, and men can fall. Oh, how far they have fallen. They linger now in a nightmare of their own making, backs against the cold ground they once believed would never touch them. The silence is deafening. The darkness no longer hides them. It swallows them whole. They do not know when it truly began, when the tides turned, when their fortress of deceit became their tomb. Perhaps it was in the whispers that once carried their names with fear, but now spit them out with venom. Perhaps it was in the way their reflections stopped looking like rulers and started looking like the condemned. Or perhaps it was always meant to end like this. Regret comes too late. The apologies they never spoke sit heavy on their tongues, but no one is left to hear them. They reach for the past, but the past does not reach back. Every moment of cruelty, every betrayal, every sin is a specter looming over them, dragging them deeper into the abyss. They thought they could escape consequence, rewrite fate, erase those they wronged with nothing more than a smirk and a well-placed lie. But fate does not forget, and neither did you. You do not gloat, you do not sneer. You stand over the ruins of what they built, watching as the empire they forged from suffering crumbles into dust. There is no need for rage, no need for one final monologue to carve your victory into stone. Their defeat is etched into every broken breath, every shuddering sigh, every desperate, hollow plea that will never be answered. They know what they did, and they know that no amount of regret can save them now. The world does not mourn them. There is no moment of silence, no grieving masses lamenting the fall of men who once ruled with iron fists. The world moves on, as it always does, forgetting them in the way they once hoped to erase you. Their names are not remembered with reverence, but with caution, with warning, with the quiet understanding that those who build their thrones atop the broken will one day be buried beneath them. This is not just vengeance. This is not justice wrapped in fury. This is a lesson written in the ruins of those who thought themselves untouchable. And you are not their executioner. You are not their savior. You are simply the consequence they never saw coming. So you turn. You leave them to their fate, to the silence, to the nothingness they carved for others, but never thought would be their own. You walk away, not because you have lost interest, not because mercy has softened your resolve, but because it is done. The past no longer chains you. The anger no longer consumes you. The storm has passed, and you stand untouched amidst the wreckage. They plotted your demise. but you became their curse. And now, they are nothing more than whispers in the wind, ghosts of a fallen empire, remnants of a forgotten war. And you? You were never just a survivor. You were always something more, something greater, something they never had the power to destroy.